Yo, I appreciate y'all now. And make sure y'all tap on that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the information that you heard today or going to hear today. You understand? And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that way you can get all the videos that's uploaded to this channel. Y'all have a good one. Thanks. Yo, what's going on, everybody? I ain't gonna waste no time, and we're gonna get straight into this. All right, so we're gonna get into Priscilla, Mother Baltimore, born May 13, 1801, and she died November 28, 1882, at the age of 81, right? She was an abolitionist and a social worker. She adopted orphan children and assisted former slaves. She is also known as the founder of Brooklyn, Illinois. All right, this is the sister we're going to read on today. Quick wiki biography. You know, of course, we can go into the details because this is a fact when it comes to documentation, all right? Early life. She was born in Bourbon County, Kentucky. Bourbon County. That sounds like French. The Bourbons. In 1801, the child of a white slave owner and one of his slaves. All right? White means European. I mean, it can be any actual skin tone. Keep in mind these words. Okay, let me stop right there. Her father sold her at age 10. Later in St. Louis, she was bought by a Methodist missionary who allowed her to buy her freedom. Okay? It took her 7 years to earn enough money. Everybody know about the 7-year indentures and all that. Once free, she set out in search of her father. He had moved from Kentucky to southern Missouri. All right, southern Missouri. Having found him, she bought her mother from him. Okay, she went and bought her mama. Okay. She brought her mother back to St. Louis. So they already was in Missouri, so she was in St. Louis, Missouri. And he was in southern Missouri. And she moved from Kentucky, right? She also purchased the freedom of her husband, John, but eventually divorced him in 1856. Okay? So she left when she was 10, right? So when she was married when she was 10, I doubt it. So who is this John character? And what do they mean by they bought him? Did they buy the indenture contracts? But they ain't got to work so long no more? Or what was bought? Okay? Is that she became esteemed among St. Louis aristocracy as a well-trained nurse and earned up to $150 per visit. So she was a nurse, getting money. So when she purchased their freedom, did she purchase, their freedoms, like the right to eat, the right to live, the right to have a roof over your head, all that type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So she had it going on, what it sounded like. Founding of Brooklyn, abolitionism. In 1829, she fled St. Louis and Missouri, a slave state, crossing the Mississippi with 11 black families. And on the opposite bank, founded Brooklyn, Illinois. So they trying to say that was a slave state, though. What they mean by that, though? Well, you was under somebody else's government type thing. But at any rate, she went and founded Brooklyn, Illinois, I guess, where she can create her own rules, right? It's described as a freedom village. According to local oral histories, a village where the inhabitants could, despite the black codes and law at the time, right, that's explaining the captivity, live more freely. including escaped slaves legally liable to recapture legally. She may have subsequently made the trip again. There are records of her in St. Louis in the 1830s. She helped to found two African Methodist Episcopal uh, shit, y'all know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Churches, right? Basically, the AME churches, okay? One St. Paul's in St. Louis and one Quinn Chapel in Brooklyn. All right. The land families settled with the family settled was owned by a white farmer named Thomas Osborne. Okay. In 1837, he and four other white landowners had it platted, right? Which means they had a cadastral survey carried out. It said there are records of Priscilla Baltimore living in Brooklyn in 1839 and in 1851. She bought lot 521 on Madison Street in the second house east of 6th Street. She built a simple wood frame house there. The site was studied in archaeological dig in 2014. Okay, they just dug up the site in 2014. It said in 1861, Priscilla Baltimore occupation was a washer. It said she was a nurse too, right? It said paid $500 as a free Negro bond. Okay, so she paid for a free Negro bond to the state of Missouri. That's how she bought her freedom, I suppose. It's Brooklyn became a major place of Underground Railroad activity. Okay. Priscilla Baltimore's degree of involvement in this is not known, but she was a very active abolitionist at the time. So that's hint, hint, right? And the Quinn Chapel, with which she was closely involved, was very active in helping escapees, as were a network of other strategically placed AME churches, right? So the AME churches were used to help escapees, and they were strategically placed, all right? It says, after the end of the U.S. Civil War in 1865, Priscilla Baltimore was active in social and religious organizations helping free slaves coming north. So they're painting the picture as the church as being the way to free escape slavery. It said in 1873, Brooklyn voted to incorporate the first American majority black community to do so. Right, it said in 1873, Brooklyn voted to incorporate the first American majority black community to do so. So they were the first one to incorporate it. It said. When Priscilla Baltimore died in 1882, there were two articles written about her in the St. Louis Daily Globe Democrat. An unusual amount of coverage for a black woman at that time. All right, so this out there, y'all. The location of her unmarked grave was found again in 2008. Unmarked grave. The Brooklyn Historical Society fundraised and installed a headstone in 2010. Found gave her a headstone. Brooklyn is the only known black town founded in the U.S. in the 1800s that survives as a living community. Priscilla Baltimore is locally remembered and respected as the founding mother of the town. So she founded the town. So all this other stuff about the white man, this and all this kind of stuff is kind of weird. All right, so let's see what an abolitionist is. She was an abolitionist and a social worker, and she got a Negro bond, okay? So an abolitionist is a person who favors the abolition of a practice or institution, especially capital punishment or former slavery. Capital punishment or former slavery. So capital punishment can be called former slavery. Slavery. That's what I see. Or formerly slavery. That's what it said. Or formerly slavery. Okay. Capital punishment. Hint, hint. Right. It's the same thing as slavery. It was formerly called slavery. It was changed to capital punishment. Okay, formerly meaning before. All right, so peep that. So I'm going to go what capital punishment is right quick before I go to the next one, so we can be clear on what they was calling slavery. And we already know capital punishment got something to do with being in jail. All right, capital punishment, also called death penalty, execution of an offender sentenced to death after conviction by a court of law of a criminal offense. Capital punishment should be distinguished from extrajudicial executions carried out without due process of law. Okay, so extrajudicial executions are carried out without the due process of law. You understand? That means by confession and something like that. So it's all dealing with prisoners. These are penal situations, not slavery in the way they say, like POWs, stuff like that. Let's see what extrajudicial means real quick. I wasn't planning on going too deep into this. All right, extrajudicial is of a sentence not legally authorized, right? Not legally authorized. Say of a settlement, statement, or confession not made in court, out of court. Okay, so it's a confession that's made out of court. All right, so now we understand that. A social work, right? Social work means what? Work carried out by trained personnel with the aim of alleviating the conditions of those in need of help or welfare. Okay, so when people say I'm a social worker, I automatically relate that to children. But now that I've read the definition, I understand that it just help anyone. So any person could be a social worker if your goal is to help people out instead of ways to alleviate people. You know what I mean? To get them a sense of welfare. Okay, free Negro bond. In the British colonies in North America and in the United States. See how they're using the synonymous? British colonies, United States. That's the same thing, okay? So understand what they just said, right? It say in the British colonies in North America and in the United States before the abolition of slavery in 1865. But we know the British colonies is the United States, y'all. Right? It became the United Colonies of America, then it became the United States of America. Okay? Hint, hint. Watch the traps. All right? It's a free Negro or black described the legal status of African Americans who were not enslaved. Okay? And let me read that again so it can be clear. In the British colonies in North America and in the United States before the abolition of slavery in 1865, free Negro or free black described the legal status of African Americans who were not enslaved. Okay? So when they called you a Negro, or they called you a black person, it described your legal status as an African American. Okay? Who were not enslaved. But if you're not from Africa, how can you be an African American? Hint, hint. All right? So you got to be an American, period. I'm just an American. I'm not an African American because when you claim to be an African American, you're claiming uh the legal status, right? Saying right, but people game though now because it's pretty interesting because it's saying when you claim to be an African American, you're saying that you were not enslaved. Okay, you're saying you were African American that were not enslaved, but on the other turn, they're saying that your counterpart African Americans were enslaved. You understand how that's a double-edged sword? So on one end, they make it sound like it's a good thing, but in actuality, you're saying you're descendants of a slave, or you had relatives that were slaves, and things like that. So no, I'm just an American. Period. Don't attach me to any slavery. Okay, so that's how you gotta look at that. So for the most part, that's all I really wanted to show y'all, man. I thank y'all for tuning in for real and paying attention to what I had for you today. Um, let's see what else I might have had. What else may I have had for you guys today? For the most part, I think that's probably it though, for real. Yeah. I think that's pretty much gonna do it. So thank y'all once again, man, as always, for tuning in to Wisdom Seeking University, aka The Wisdom Show. Peace. Yo, I appreciate y'all now. And make sure y'all tap on that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the information that you heard today or going to hear today. You understand? And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that way you can get all the videos that's uploaded to this channel. Y'all have a good one. Thanks.